There's something inherently wrong about a place that was built for societal gathering and commercial living, going dead and silent. Malls were never just buildings. They were entire ecosystems built around human behavior. And for much of the late 20th century, they thrived. From the moment you walk through the automatic glass doors, it was a complete sensory environment. The sound of music over the intercom, the chatter of shoppers, the smell of food court pizza and fresh pretzels. Malls were built as fully immersive experiences, and for a time, they served as the social, economic, and emotional cores of American suburbia. Their design was intentional. In fact, the entire concept of the shopping mall as we know it traces back to one man, Victor Gruen. A Jewish immigrant from Austria, Gruen was the architect behind America's first enclosed shopping mall, the Southdale Center, which opened in 1956 in Edina, Minnesota. But Gruen didn't envision malls as just retail zones. He saw them as replacements for the town square, a solution to the growing sprawl of the post-war suburbs. They were meant to be self-contained civic hubs, and for a while, they were. At their peak, malls weren't just places to shop. They were social theaters. Teenagers roamed the walkways, looking for friends or romance. Families spent entire weekends wandering stores and grabbing meals. The mall was the default destination when there was nothing else to do. And that was by design. Stores were arranged to keep people moving. Fountains and skylights were placed to encourage lingering. Benches were spaced just far enough apart to foster short rests, not full stops. Even the temperature and lighting were carefully maintained to keep people comfortable, relaxed, and spending money. But somewhere between the mid-1990s and early 2000s, things began to shift. At first, it was subtle. Anchor stores like Sears, JCPenney's, and Macy's began downsizing. Then came the rise of online shopping. Amazon, eBay, and later platforms like Shopify and Shein began offering the same goods without the hassle of leaving home. Consumer behavior started to change. Convenience replaced experience. Retailers responded by consolidating locations, cutting costs, and reducing staff. Foot traffic dropped. Without foot traffic, small stores inside the mall couldn't sustain themselves. Food courts went quiet. Maintenance budgets were slashed. Leaky ceilings were patched with buckets. Eventually, entire wings of some malls were sealed off altogether. This was not a sudden death. It was slow, hollowing, and public. The term dead mall entered popular vocabulary to describe these places. Giant commercial husks left behind as relics of a past economic era. The Reddit community r/dead malls, founded in 2011, became a gathering point for people to share photos and stories of these decaying spaces. And what started as simple documentation eventually became something bigger. These spaces began to evoke some deeper feeling, an eerie comfort, a fascination, and for some, even a sense of peace. Part of the fascination comes from the visual impact of abandonment. We're drawn to the emptiness. These malls are often still lit by fluorescent lights. The plants are still alive. The signage remains intact, but there's no one there. It's that uncanny feeling, the echo of former life in a place that now sits in purgatory. It activates the concept of liminality, a term originally used in anthropology to describe transitional states. Liminal spaces exist on the threshold between one state and another. Airports, hallways, parking garages at 3 a.m. They all share that feeling of being between destinations, between purpose. Dead malls have become the flagship example of this aesthetic, because they aren't ruined or destroyed. They're intact, preserved, but frozen. And it's that stillness that makes them feel dreamlike, or even unsettling. But the appeal of liminal spaces isn't just visual, it's psychological. According to discussions on forums like r/liminal space and r/dead malls, people feel comforted by these places because they exist outside the pressures of modern life. There are no crowds, no consumer noise, no expectations, just blank space. And while some find it haunting, others find it calming. In a world that constantly demands engagement and attention, a dead mall offers silence. There's also nostalgia. For many who grew up in the 1980s, 90s, or even early 2000s, malls weren't just shopping centers. They were cultural milestones. You remember the movie theater attached to the food court, the music store where you bought your first CD, the arcade tucked away in the back. These memories are still tied to a physical space. When the mall dies, those memories lose their anchor, and that disconnection is both sad and strangely beautiful. Though what's interesting is how dead malls have begun to feed back into pop culture. Liminal imagery, especially those of abandoned malls, has influenced music videos, digital art, and even indie horror. The Backrooms aesthetic, a popular online horror concept based around infinite empty spaces, owes much of its mood and tone to the look and feel of this abandoned architecture. And yet, despite their decline, not all malls are gone. Some have adapted. Others have been repurposed into community centers, healthcare hubs, office parks, or even housing. The American Mall, as Gruen envisioned it, may no longer exist, but the spaces remain, and the fascination only continues to grow. Because in the end, dead malls represent transition. They reflect how culture, economy, and society evolve, and how our built environment often struggles to keep up. They are remnants of a world built around congregation, left behind in an age of convenience and solitude. They speak to a larger cultural anxiety, the fear of what we lose when the communal spaces disappear, the fear of what it means to be surrounded by infrastructure built for people when there are no people left. They're places built for life, now echoing with absence. And yet, we keep looking at them. There's something about the silence that draws us in. It's here in the ruins of our old gathering places that we begin to understand what kind of future we built for ourselves. In an age where everything is connected but nothing feels grounded, maybe the silence of dead malls speak louder than the noise of modern life. May your fascination never change. And as always, thank you for watching.